A very pleasant evening from the smoke-choked northeast. There's currently a once every 200-year forest fire raging north of here in Quebec that is causing quite a lot of issues for folks, as I understand. I didn't know what a forest fire smelled like growing up, and despite not really moving out of the region, have become quite accustomed to what these, what these more and more frequent fires are starting to smell like. And I suppose that's appropriate because what we're going to look at today is we're going to look at a few species and a few genera in a family that might be somewhat obscure to some people. We're going to look at a few plants in the family Cistaceae, the rock rose family. These are species adapted to coastal, fire-dependent, and coastal fire-dependent communities. We're in an area where they do some prescribed burns right now, which is appropriate, and the habitat type here is more or less perfect for the species I'm about to show you right now. The first on our checklist of about 3 species we should be able to see today. Pardon me as I sloppily move my camera over. What we get in front of us right here is Crocanthemum canadensis, or Crocanthemum canadense, it doesn't really matter. This is, like I said, in the family Cistaceae, the rock rose family. And this diminutive, little guy right here, I actually saw recently on a hike. I didn't really recognize what it was. I thought it was something else because it wasn't in good shape. But this guy is in good shape. I want you to take a look at that. 5 petals, quite a handful of little anthers in there, and I'll zoom in a second for you. Quite a handful of stamens in there. Nice little orange anthers. Flip that guy over there. The leaves, kind of fuzzy. Simple, alternate, entire, yada yada yada. Take a look at the back. Yeah, probably better when I zoom in. 3 sepals, oddly enough, which is interesting. I think there's something going on. I think they modify some of the sepals because you almost get like a little pin in between. And one of about 4 species of Crocanthemum you get in the region. More widespread. This genus is a bit more widespread than the other 2 genera we're going to look at today, one of which is actually relatively restricted, only has a few species in it. Quite a few species in this genus though. 4 others, like I said, although most of the other ones you get, unlike Crocanthemum canadense or Crocanthemum canadensis, you're going to have more than 1 or 2 flowers, popping out of that thing up top. And fire-adapted plant, really likes the rocky, sandy stuff, really likes the fire, scarred habitats. It's fire-dependent ecology. Its interactions with fungi even, it does the whole, ectomycorrhizal symbiosis, which I can't get into because I don't really know that much about it. But to make a long story short, this guy is doing a fungal he's associating with fungus that other fire-dependent trees, like oaks and such, also associate with. If that is to make sense, and indeed we are actually beneath an oak right now. Let me take this off for a second. I'll get in there for you, do a little bit more detail. So Cistaceae is a family. You're going to get it. You're going to get it in the Mediterranean regions. The 2 species we're going to go look at near the seacoast right after this, you get basically just on the east coast. One of them goes up into Canada, which I'll talk about when we get to it. This species, I'm pretty sure, is pretty widespread around the northeast. You get some actually pretty restricted range species in this family. Not entirely sure if it's in this genus, but whatever. Take a look at that stigma there in the center. How nice is that? That's that ovary, superior ovary. There are those orange anthers I'm talking about, kind of hanging out up at the top. Got the 6 nice yellow petals. Flip that guy over again. Could you say that has it does almost look like it technically has 5 sepals, but there's 2 right there that are reduced, maybe? I don't know. It's interesting. Little leaves up at the top. There's a close up of those leaves. Nice and fuzzy. Who doesn't love it when it's nice and fuzzy? I love it when it's nice and fuzzy. Like I said, despite the common name rock rose, this is again in the order Malvales, so the order of of Hibiscus, Mallows, linden, etc. But I guess with the 5 petals and the numerous stamens, you know, people could, I guess I could see how you could be, you know, convinced into thinking that that's a rose-like plant. Just coming up right here in the field. Lovely little plant. There's another one right there. Not too many of them. And then there's a there's the other one. Another one right behind me. I see plenty of them, just not in flower. Like where are we looking here? Oh, here's one right here. It's just not in flower yet. These guys bloom June. They go for quite a while. Another interesting thing that this family does. Put the camera down. I'll talk about this for 1 second. Another interesting thing that this family does is they'll have a mixture of open, so chasmogamous, which is a fancy word for open flower, which is not used often, and cleistogamous, which is used much more frequently because it's much more unusual flowers. So early in the season, they start up with these, you know, open flowers, and this whole family is kind of notable for this, that and the fire-dependent habit. They start up with their flowers open in the early summer, and then they'll switch over to closed flowers as they get later in the season. So getting that outcrossing out of the way, you know, early, and then as the summer drags on, things dry out, things get a little bit harder to deal with. You know, they're gonna close up. They're gonna start putting out those closed up flowers, those cleistogamous flowers, and they're gonna try to you know, get some self pollination going, just to basically ensure that they you know, are getting their seed out. So that's the first of 3 that we're going to look at today. The showy, well, I don't know. You'll be the judge of that. I think it's a very cute, very showy little flower, Cistaceae. Just like, I wouldn't say it's an obscure family of plants, but definitely not the first thing that comes to mind when I think a lot of people think of New England plants. They get the fire dependency. They got a coastal, you know, sort of distribution in New England. Not this specific species, but the other 2 we're going to go look at. They love the sand. They love the rocks. They love those fire dependent habitats. And I mean, just a cool one. There's quite a few species you can find. I think there's 4 Crocanthemum, and then I'll talk about the other 2 when we get there to go see them. But yeah, what a lovely little rock rose. A couple other things that I wasn't expecting to see that I'll show you while I'm here, and then we will get going out to the seacoast, to which, I mean, we're only about, you know, we're in Essex County here, right near the base of Cape Ann, so we're not really, you know, that far from the seacoast as the crow flies. But show you a couple more things and we'll get out of here. Okay, you know me. You know I get, you know, I got a little fetish for parasitic plants. And in fact, what we have here in front of us is a really weird one. As far as I know, you know, one of the very few, actually it's, might not be true. Anyway, the taxonomy in this is a little weird. The name of the plant is Comandra umbellata. I hope I'm getting that right. I'll double check my work real quick. I have it right here. Let me just make sure that I'm getting this right. Yes, Comandra umbellata, I just wrote it down, is a monotypic genus, sometimes placed in its own family, Comandraceae, and sometimes placed in the mistletoe family, Santalacea. Either way, what you get here is a semi-parasitic plant, a hemiparasite, if you would. And if this is in the order Santalacea, it's one of the very few, you know, species in that family we get here in the Northeast. Also unusual because many of those species, many of those mistletoes are growing as I'm going to forget the term for it, but it's, I'll put it down there in the video. It's a parasite living within the host tissue of its target species, or of its host species. This one, however, as you can see, has leaves. It's doing some photosynthesis on its own, and it's you know, only being a semi-parasitic plant on what I presume are the grasses around it. Let me get in there for you. Show you those cute little flowers that this guy's got. It does have pretty nice, cute little. Yeah, there's the open one. 5 petals. I guess it's got a Hypoxis down in there. Got a little floral tube, and then a fused a fused calyx on the base. So whatever the taxonomy is on this, it's fairly unusual for New England. Not many species in its not many relatives in New England. This specific species, though, is actually very widespread. You get this in Europe too. I think there's like 4 different subspecies spread around the northern hemisphere. Very widely distributed plant, and that's par for the course because it's also a very widely distributed family. Speaking of, families that do a lot of parasitism, we have another hemiparasite here. One that we've actually seen before, though, so I won't spend too much time talking about it. We have one of my favorites, Melampyum lineare, or lineare, however you say that, a specific epithet. Doing the thing with its linear-looking leaves. Typical Orobincaceae, bilaterally symmetrical flowers there. Orobincaceae, again, another family of basically all parasites, but this guy is a hemiparasite. So he's got the leaves, he's doing a little bit of photosynthesis on his own. He's stealing from the grasses. I think he's actually stealing mostly from plants in the family Asteraceae. So he's stealing from the sunflowers. And yeah, just another fantastic semi-parasitic plant. I love this. I really can't get enough of the parasitism. It gets real interesting when the plants start parasitizing the fungus. Of course, these two plants, as far as I understand, are just parasitic on the root tissue of other plants. I got one more really quick thing I'm going to look at, and then we'll hop on out of here. We'll head over to the sand dunes. And there we go. One of our newer friends, Hypoxis hispida, the yellow-eyed grass, I forgot what the common name is, Hypoxidaceae, sole northeastern member of the genus, sole northeastern member of the family. Hypoxidaceae, I say that right? Yeah. Got the cute little yellow flowers on there. Juicy anthers sticking out. The things follow it down to the base of the leaves, and you're probably thinking, hey, wait a minute, we're at the base of the leaves. Well, that's where it gets its name from. Its base of leaves basically just look like grass blades, which, is where it gets that common name from. Another species that loves the dry, open, rocky, fire-dependent stuff. And, again, just like the Comandra umbellata, kind of a cluster to unpack the taxonomy there. I'll get it sorted out. Wikipedia says that Comandra is in the family Santillaceae, but then Go Botany, which is the native plant trust, which should be following, the treatments from the New England flora, puts it in its own family, Comandraceae, which, I mean, I can only imagine it's still in the order Santillaceae, but it's, this is the type of stuff that you get hung up on this for too long, you miss what's actually, cool about coming out to look at plants, whatever. Regardless, it's still a fascinating plant biologically, so we can worry about the taxonomy later. And then also growing right here, just kind of on the edge of the field, our very, very good and old friend in the coffee family, Houstonia caerulea, which you could find going off from April to, July, if you get far enough north, high enough in altitude, and just an old reliable, always cheers me up when I see it. And that's what a lot of these plants will become if you start, paying attention to what grows around you. They become like a group of good old friends. Anyway, on that note, I think we'll say goodbye to this little field that I'm happy to see. It's just as nice to come visit in the spring as it is in the late summer and fall. And we'll be on our way. Drive about 20-25 minutes out to see some beach dunes and see a couple more members of the family Cistaceae. Hopefully you're getting kind of the theme of this episode at this point. Did I say Hypoxis hispida? Correct name of the plant's Hypoxis hirsutis, which I think means just about the same thing, but whatever. Anyway, off to the dunes. Okay, we're out here on the beach now, taking a look at the second of, or I guess the second species in the family, Cistaceae, we're going to take a look at. It took me about an hour to get over here, but I mean, realistically, I'm only about 10 miles from where I just was. Not too far, out on a little barrier island here in northern Massachusetts. So this is Hudsonia tomentosa. Hudsonia demosum is another species you get, but they can be distinguished by the fact that demosum is much less tomentose, and these the flowers that you see tend to have a little bit longer pedicels, actually substantially longer pedicels. Demosum's also a bit restricted in range. This species here, Hudsonia tomentosa, you get along the shores of the Northeast. You also get, I think you get around the Great Lakes and even disjunct up into central Canada, always inhabiting the sand dune habit, lakes, the fire-dependent stuff, a key component of what are known as, coastal heathlands here in the area. I'll show you just in a second. We'll turn around, we'll go look at one of its famous co-occurring species in a moment. This plant's actually in one of my Cape Cod videos. Either it's in the one I haven't put out yet, but I'll link it if I end up putting that out before this comes out. But I don't think that video is going to come up before this. I think I'm going to go with this one first as your first introduction to the genus Hudsonia. Let me get in there for you. Flowers on this guy are considerably smaller and yet more abundant than its close relative Crocanthemum canadensis. But as you can see, maybe not, get that same general thing going on there. Got the 5 petals, numerous stamens. Take a look at how hairy. Where are the leaves on this thing even? It's almost entirely just made up of little floral buds, little green photosynthetic floral buds. Really fascinating plant. False heather, golden false heather is what this gets called a lot. I mean, I'll zoom out for you. You got a little, got a lovely little dune side here, full of them. Much nicer than the obnoxious Rosa Rugosa they have growing over there, and invasive that a lot of people just can't seem to get enough of, despite the fact that it's incredibly bad for the dune habitats. But I digress. We can just choose to pay attention to this lovely Hudsonia. Lechea is significantly, which is the third genus we're going to look for just in a second, significantly less showy than either of these, but we'll see if we can find that too. And right here you got one of the co-occurring species with Hudsonia tomentosa. This is one of the really cool Solidagos. Of course, you got probably close to 35 species of Solidago in New England alone, close to 100 of them in North America. But here's the spent inflorescence from last year, and then here are these leaves, really leathery, almost borderline succulent, but well adapted not only to the dunes. You'll see this growing along roadsides too. Sempervirens always living. These things are pretty tolerant for broad range habitat types, and they get this whole area kind of closed off for right now just because it's the breeding season for the piping plovers. Cute little buggers if you've ever seen them. And there's some more of that Hudsonia down over there. And a little pine stand over here. We'll take a look around for a second. It's actually kind of crappy out. The parking lot is still full. You really can't go anywhere in Massachusetts without seeing an obnoxious number of people. But hey, what are you going to do? These habitats are interesting, and despite the fact that there are a ton of people here, there's very few people actively appreciating the native flora that you get here. So someone's got to do it. Yeah, here's that really obnoxious beach rose up close. Rosa rugosa, a non-native, but people seem to sure think that it is. Considered to be an icon of the coastline of New England, and yet only arrived here maybe 200 years ago, taking over absolutely everything. You can see there's no Hudsonia over here. Just gets crowded out by this stuff. You get some nice poison ivy right there, though. That I'd much rather see. That I would much rather see. Call me crazy. It's totally fine, I get it. You wouldn't be the first. Okay, not super charismatic, but nonetheless still in the family Cistaceae. This is that pinweed right here. This is Lechea. No clue what species, because there's about, 7 or 8 of them, maybe 6, native to the region, all looking kind of similar. You need to get pictures of it in flower and pictures of it late in the season where it puts out a basal rosette to get a, to get a good idea on it. But it has neither the flowers nor the basal leaves out right now. So we're a little bit SOL. But, pinweed, not even terribly showy when they go off. Still doing many of the traits you see in Cistaceae. The fire dependence, the dune affinity, rock affinity, sand affinity, whatever you want to call it. And then just a really unique flowering habit. Chasmogam's flowers early in the season. Cleistogam's flowers late in the season. Actually, I'm not sure if it's 100% true for Lechea. I'll put down below if I can, figure that out. Yeah, take a look at those. I didn't even have the macro lens on. It's getting dark. I gotta get out of here. We'll rush this real quick. Interesting. Be a little bit more interesting if it was in flower, but it's got a cool ecology. What can you say? It doesn't always need to be showy. Sometimes a cool ecology is all you need. Anyway, I think we'll wrap this one up for today. Hope that was nice and concise. A good intro for the rock rose family Cistaceae for you. Hey, check this thing out. A big shrub-cinquefoil. Wasn't expecting to see this, but sure enough, not in the genus Potentilla, but in that tribe, Potentili. Forget the scientific name, I just was looking at it. Interesting plant. Got a pretty big range. I'm not sure if this is, truly native, or if this is, one of those range expanded plants. I'll figure it out. This is a really beautiful plant either way, though. Can't believe it, that thing's a cinquefoil. But then, of course, you get up close to it. Those flowers, I buy it, and you see, sure enough, it still has pentifid compound leaves there. So, once you think about it for a second, I know thorns, so once you think about it for a second, it kind of makes sense that it's a cinquefoil, or at least something in that cinquefoil tribe. Got a real cool viburnum, too. Not for a split second, it might have been a dogwood, but it's got the 4 petals. And then opposite leaves, dogwoods would have opposite leaves like that, but the thing also smells pretty bad. The 5 petals, smelling pretty bad, and just generally not the form up close that you would expect of a dogwood. Give it away as some type of viburnum. I'm not super familiar with the species. Won't take a guess right this second, but I'll figure it out and I'll get back to you.